All right, guys, so this is pretty interesting if you ask me. Rolling Stone is reporting that there was a documentary crew that was following Trump behind the scenes all throughout January 6th and the time before it and after it. So the headline is, "What the fuck is this? Team Trump blindsided by January 6th committee getting doc footage." Former administration and campaign officials tell Rolling Stone they had no idea a film crew had months of access to the former president and his family. Wow. I mean, that really is incredible. He probably recorded all of his crimes and quite literally told the documentary producers, "I'm going to go commit some crimes today," and they have it on video. And by the way, he still probably won't go down over it. It's classic Trump. It's classic Trump. Like, commit 14 crimes before breakfast and then get away with all of them and get elected president. The January 6th committee has subpoenaed documentary filmmaker Alex Holder in regard to footage and interviews Holder and his team shot while following former President Donald Trump and his inner circle throughout the 2020 presidential campaign. Holder's company, AJH Films, confirmed to Rolling Stone on Tuesday that he has been subpoenaed, will sit for an interview with the panel on Thursday, and has fully complied with all the committee's requests. Trump's team was blindsided by the development, which was initially reported by Politico, in some of the highest ranks of the Trump world diaspora, including among several who testified before the January 6th committee, news of the documentarian cooperating with the congressional panel, and also potentially having reams of behind-the-scenes footage of Trump's crusade to nullify the 2020 election, came as a bizarre surprise. What the fuck is this? A former top Trump 2020 official messaged Rolling Stone on Tuesday after seeing the Politico item. Another former senior official, another former senior official on the re-election team insisted that the first time several members of the Trump campaign leadership even heard of the documentary was when Politico reported the committee had subpoenaed the Holder. Subpoenaed, I think they meant to say Holder, because that's his last name. A third ex-official simply said, "Terrible idea," and pleaded baffled ignorance to the doc project. Two former senior Trump administration officials who were still working in the administration after the January 6th riot also claimed that they each had no idea the documentary was being shot in that time frame. Reportedly, intimate access to Trump, his vice president, his family members, and his White House, Stephanie Grisham, who at the time was chief of staff to First Lady Melania Trump, told Rolling Stone she wasn't aware of this documentary project either. In other words, many of the people actually running Trump's re-election operation are now saying they somehow had zero clue that an entire documentary was being filmed largely about Trump and his re-election campaign, and now the fruits of that doc are being mined for evidence by the congressional committee investigating Trump and his multi-pronged efforts to shred, the American democratic order. Holder released a statement later on Tuesday noting that he had unparalleled access to Trump and others over the final 6 weeks of his presidency, and that he has never before seen footage of the Capitol attack. Quote, "When we began this project in September 2020, we could have never predicted that our work would one day be subpoenaed by Congress," he wrote, adding that he had no agenda coming into this and only wanted to better understand who the Trumps were and what motivated them to hold on to power so desperately. Oh boy, that's interesting right there. That line is like a low-key, sly, "I'm sort of against Trump" line. Let me read that one more time. The reason he's doing this documentary, quote, "wanted to better understand who the Trumps were and what motivated them to hold on to power so desperately." So he's basically saying, look, they're power hungry as fuck. This is the documentary guy. So that means he was recording them thinking the whole time, I don't really like these people, and I'm trying to like show the way it really works in here. And he's probably going to show it in as raw a way as possible, which would make the Trumps look negative. Now, wouldn't it? A source familiar with the production of Holder's documentary titled Unprecedented told Rolling Stone that the film was conceptualized and coordinated directly with the Trump family, because, by the way, they can't say no to a camera, and that senior campaign staff was not involved in approving participants or in decisions regarding what subject matter would be included in the film. The source, who was knowledgeable about the project and its scope, detailed that Holder had extensive access to Trump campaign activities, including filming behind the scenes at campaign events and traveling with documentary subjects. So, look, Lord only knows what the hell this guy's got, man. Lord only knows what this guy's got. But the January 6th committee is going to get it all. They're going to get it all. The thing that I'm shocked about, though, is that some members of Trump's campaign were like, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know who this guy is. I don't know what this documentary is. I never saw a single goddamn camera. I don't know what you're talking about. That's weird to me. That's weird. Because either they're the biggest idiots in the world, or they're being honest, in which case the cameras would have been sort of low-key hidden, or dude was filming in a way that it wasn't obvious he was filming, but then wouldn't they be like, hey, there's a random guy in this Oval Office meeting, who the fuck is he? I don't know, man. It's weird, but I mean, the evidence is sort of overwhelming that there was a documentary being shot and that they have the footage and the January 6th committee is going to get it. So I'll be curious to see what comes out of that. But I will say, as I always say in regards to Trump, look, don't get your hopes up that this is going to lead to anything, because man, how many crimes has he committed and he just sort of casually gets away with it? I mean, Trump University was a giant fraud, and he paid out millions of dollars over that. And that's just one example. There was a big article, I think it was in Washington Post when he was first running in 2016, talking about how, guys, he stiffed like hundreds of his workers for his hotels. He just didn't pay them. And I'm talking about the low-key crimes right now. I haven't even begun to discuss, the rampant violations of the emoluments clause of the Constitution, where he's taking hundreds of thousands of dollars at his DC hotel from Saudi Arabia as president, which again is unconstitutional. He casually got away with that, like it was nothing. Shaking down his supporters. We just learned this. $250 million Trump raised for some Stop the Steal shit. He said it was going to go to a PAC that's going to fight it. It didn't go to a PAC that's going to fight it. They probably pocketed that whole shit. Just, again, so many crimes. He's a classic tax cheat. Everybody knows that. There's been a number of detailed investigative reports about what he does in terms of, when his dad passed money down to him and they did some tricky financing or tricky accounting, I should say, in order to not pay taxes on it. He overvalues his courses and his properties when trying to sell them or when talking about them, but when it comes time to pay taxes, he massively undervalues them and cuts the number in half or even more than that. And these are all just classic fraudulent moves. So even if he's caught dead to rights on camera saying like, I will now go do a coup, it's like I can't get my hopes up that anything's going to happen. I mean, there should be criminal charges. There should have been 1,000 criminal charges, but I doubt that's going to happen. I doubt it's going to happen. Because we already have him on video. He gave a speech right before the storming of the Capitol on January 6th where he's like, now let's go march over to the Capitol, and you can't take your country back without strength. You need strength, and I hope Mike Pence does the right thing. Basically saying like, yeah, I want my VP to overturn the election, and if he doesn't, well, let's go to the Capitol and let's see what happens. And so if you have that on camera, and, like nothing came of it, they didn't take any official sort of action, there weren't any official charges, then even if you have more on camera, it's like, what's that going to do? What it's going to do is further open everybody's eyes to who this guy really is. And it has had an impact, like the January 6th committee has, but there would only be political consequences from it, not necessarily legal consequences from it. So anyway, there you guys go. I'm interested to see this footage. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, I would watch that shit in a second. I will watch this documentary the second it comes out. Because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff on there that's just totally eye-opening and illuminating. But I hope it leads to something more. But I'll just say I don't have my hopes up for that to happen because, how many times have people had their hopes up over the years that there'd be some accountability for this man, and there just wasn't? Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.